Welcome back to the Fantasy Table, brought to you by the Blue Stable. I am once again your host, Luke Verkamp, and we got a big one today, but we're going to try to keep it short at the same time. A lot of news happened this past week, and by a lot, I mean a lot. But tonight, once again, with me is Theo. Theo, how you doing?
Good. That's I think this is one of the biggest shakeups in fantasy this week, throughout the whole year. It's a lot of stuff happened, a lot of things changing, injuries. It's gonna need a lot more time than what we're gonna have to break it all down, but hopefully can give you just a good enough recap to go through it and make your fantasy decisions for the week.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the news and notes, which was injuries, trades, a lot of other little random news. Bye weeks, and then we're going to go into like situations like that are going on throughout the NFL on some teams, like running back situations, wide receiver situations that you need to be kind of keeping your eye on, and what could happen moving forward. But starting off, we're going to go through the news and notes. Obviously, the big one since last week, since we recorded, was Christian McCaffrey got traded to the 49ers for a second, third, fourth, and fifth round pick. Massive haul for the Panthers for him. Great pickup for the 49ers. I know we posted a clip of it on our Twitter last week that we mentioned the 49ers as a potential landing spot for Christian McCaffrey last week. I know Theo said that like Devo is like a running back wide receiver and Christian McCaffrey is a wide receiver running back. But yeah, big move by them. Obviously changed a lot. We're going to talk about the Panthers running backs later, and we're going to be I don't know if we have the 49ers on there or not, but it's Christian McCaffrey's backfield from now on.
Yeah, went after he joined. It's basically the only player that he doesn't hurt on that offense is Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel's will still be a focal point on that offense, still put up the production. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna kind of tie this in with another news point. He was day to day with the hamstring injury. That tends to linger throughout the season. Sort of like in the off season gets a lot better, but hamstring it flares up quite a bit. So if he misses time, that's CMC just way more production out of him.
And Brandon
And
Ayuk.
but Brandon Ayuk, I think Ayuk and Kittle actually do get harmed a bit, especially like with targets with I know because like Debo's still going to be a focal point, and now you have to allocate a little bit more targets because you have CMC, who I believe can do way more with the ball than Kittle or Ayuk. But of course, you're going to target Ayuk and Kittle further downfield, so they'll still get that production that way. But some of the overall targets that are sent by Jimmy Garoppolo are going to be more towards CMC, and they might experience a slight dip. I'm not expecting anything dramatic, but that's offense is going to be Debo and CMC all the way every week.
Yeah, Shanahan has to have like a field day having all those weapons that he gets to scheme up and do all this fun things for. Um,
And
I'm
it's
moving.
funny because I'm sorry, I know you're
No,
gonna
you're
move it
good.
on, but briefly, I kind of forgot to mention like Elijah Mitchell and
Yeah,
Jeff
that's
Wilson
true.
Jr.
Yeah.
They're they're gone. I mean, Elijah Mitchell,
They're,
he might come back and be a nice little bruiser back on goal line if they need it. If they feel like they need it. I mean, I believe CMC can do that as well.
I gotta
But
say, I feel
they're
like CMC would almost be just as good, if not better, than Elijah Mitchell.
yeah, I think after next week or maybe after 2 weeks, they're going to be droppable candidates. That's my prediction.
I gotta say, we got this next week, and then the bye. They have their bye week after that, and I feel like with the bye week, CMC is going to be
Yeah.
able to know the playbook and everything by then.
Hmm.
Like I say, he only played roughly about 30% of snaps this past week, so that's only going to increase tremendously as we move forward. PJ Walker will start for the Panthers until he plays otherwise. He's played to be their starter, and he's taking control because, to be quite honest, none of the other quarterbacks are doing anything. PJ's not really doing a whole lot either, but he's doing more than what the other guys are doing.
He actually had a solid game against the Buccaneers. I know the previous game he looked completely lost, but he got his footing this game, and I mean, he I think he's going to be started for the rest of the season, and I kind of want him to be because I'm not too I'm not too confident in Baker Mayfield like coming back and running that offense or Sam Darnold even. It's I'd say just stick with PJ Walker for the rest of the season. And if they do, that provides some consistency in what we know about the Panthers offense.
Yeah, I feel like it should be PJ Walker. They should just roll forward. If he does good, okay. If he does bad, hey, get a new quarterback in. Um, I feel like sticking with PJ Walker actually kind of helps DJ Moore a little bit because Baker Mayfield just does not throw it to their number one. Sam Darnold actually did pretty all right with DJ Moore last year, so Sam Darnold wouldn't be as bad for Sam or for um, DJ Moore, but like DJ Moore, he had 10 targets this past week and a touchdown. One of his, I know, as Theo said in our
That's
messages,
one of his 4 touchdowns on the season. At
before
you saw it last week, so if you expect him to score another one next week, he might. But then that
they
puts
play
him at
Atlanta,
3.
so I mean, there's a
That puts him at 3 touchdowns out of 4. So only expect one more.
oh man, yeah. Speaking of DJ Moore, Panthers consider him a foundational piece and will not trade him. Unfortunate because I wanted free DJ Moore, but I guess I will have to wait until next year whenever they get an actual good rookie quarterback in there. Please be Bryce
Yeah,
Young or somebody like that because
that's
DJ
I
Moore
was
needs
just
to.
about to
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. It's like free DJ Moore, except if they draft Bryce Young next season, like
Yes.
next
Yes.
draft. That's pretty much my method of it. If you own DJ Moore in fantasy, you're kind of crossing your fingers on that because I feel like DJ Moore could be a very solid piece on your dynasty team, but all depends on how that front office operates in the offseason.
Right. And also speaking of trades, Elijah Moore asked for a trade. The Jets do not want to trade him. He was out this past week, and he is planning to play this week. With Corey Davis kind of hurt, he might be able to play into a larger role. Even though really none of the wide receivers have done anything really that good since Zach Wilson's come back. Um, so we'll see how that goes.
A lot of teams that need a wide receiver like that right
Packers,
now. Yeah, Packers is a big one. I mean, I know Packers. There's like so many like news lines this week that I saw that Packers were interested in wide receivers
yeah,
like
like Chase
AJ
Claypool,
Chase Claypool, AJ Green. I
Chase
saw
Young,
today.
yeah,
It, they're so desperate. God, I could do a whole episode by myself on where the Packers messed up after trading Devonta Adams. Like I could just recap it all, but I'll
uh,
save that. I'll save you guys the time. But
they
it's a disaster.
it's
That
not like they
team,
could have had like George Pickens in the second round or anything, but
nope, they couldn't. They couldn't. It was definitely taken by then.
oh man. Well, J.K. Dobbins got placed on injured reserve. I know we're going to talk about Gus a little bit later, but Gus Bus went off with 2 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco started for the Chiefs this past week. He still did not lead the team in snap percentage, but talk about
Yeah,
that later.
Jarek McKinnon
Yeah,
lead the team
McKinnon.
in rushes and
Yeah,
okay, we could talk about it later.
yeah, we'll talk about it later. But Chuba Hubbard started for the Panthers. He got injured later on in the game. We'll talk about that here in a bit as well.
No air quotations, as you can
Yeah,
notice.
yeah, no air quotations. He was the starter for them. Uh, this I put a teary face next to because I was very sad, very just heartbroken. But Brees Hall tore his ACL, officially out the rest of the year. There's a chance he will be back by the beginning of next season, but even then, I mean, we saw what happened to Gus Edwards coming off a torn ACL. Um, it's just kind of you don't really know.
That's it's heartbreaking, especially because of how well he was doing this season.
So good.
He was on track to be a top 5 running back in
He was,
fantasy this year.
yeah. Not only that, he was going to probably be the offensive rookie of the year.
That's true. Who's I think now after the injury, Kenneth Walker the third, he
Yeah.
jumped up as the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, which is crazy because I mean, this seemed to be the year of the wide receivers, and none of them are really doing good. Which I mean, Drake London, he's been getting a very good target share, but the thing is Falcons just don't pass at all for some reason.
Mm-mm.
David Njoku has a high ankle sprain. He is out 2 to 5 weeks. Another pain for me because I really like Njoku. I know I talk about him all the time. Barry said that he's going to be out.
I think that timeline is going to match up nicely though with Watson's
Watson coming
return.
back. Yep.
Depends on how if he decides to wait those 5 weeks and let it completely heal, or try to force to come back. But I mean, they got Bryant, right?
Harrison
A tight,
Bryant. Yeah.
yeah, Bryant. I think the Browns could be fine with Bryant starting ahead of Njoku. Let him rest and let that offense be completely healthy when Watson comes back.
Yeah, we've seen some flash games from Harrison Bryant before, so he should be all right. Decent start for him. And a very shocking surprise to Colts fans. The Colts benched Matt Ryan and are starting Sam Ellinger this week against the Commanders. So instead of it being
Oh
Matt Ryan versus
man,
Carson Wentz, it is now going to be Sam Ellinger versus Taylor Heineke.
I am so happy because okay, I don't hate Matt Ryan, right? He's such a great football player. He's a great guy. Okay, maybe not a good football player this year, but he's a great guy.
I mean, for his career,
I
he
just
was.
I have been begging for the Colts to put in a young quarterback just to make things interesting because I feel like a lot of Colts fans can kind of resonate with me here. And you see in the AFC, like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert get drafted and
Lamar
perform
Jackson.
light. Lamar Jackson, they perform lights out. And you see all these new guys take it over. And it's very unfortunate that Andrew Luck retired. And we are expecting him to kind of be that guy where he's like, I think in that era in which Luck was drafted, I mean, he would have lasted the longest. Like right now, he would have been the greatest one of that generation of like the
Yeah.
early 2010s. But unfortunately, he retired early, and ever since then they've been scrambling for a quarterback. They haven't targeted that young guy, and we haven't really have seen that young spark at the quarterback position. And now this weekend, we finally get to see it. In terms of fantasy, though, it's going to be very odd. I'm kind of backing away from all the Colts players except for Jonathan Taylor. I feel like Jonathan Taylor
What
is
about
going to
Michael
have.
Pittman?
I see a lot of fantasy counts say to buy low on Michael Pittman, and I agree. I agree on that because right now he's the cheapest he has been this season, and with previous quarterbacks, with like Carson Wentz, he like his floor is nice. I mean, his ceiling's not going to be as high as it was with Matt Ryan and the volume Matt Ryan throws it at, but I think the floor and Pittman as him being the number one target on that offense is safe. And I think if you can get him cheap and a team that's like kind of has him as like their wide receiver three, you could get him at a nice price and it won't cost you that much. You can add him onto your flex. And if he ends up providing that like that nice solid foundational like 7, 8 point floor, I think that's a nice grab for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, the Colts probably aren't going to be throwing like 50 times a game like they were with Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
I know, like with my some of my friends, I've been calling like the Colts quarterback room like the retirement home for the past few years because I mean Philip Rivers and now Matt Ryan. Um, yeah, it's just not been great. I mean, there's just no like nothing against Matt Ryan because I mean age is the thing, but he can't really move in the pocket like Sam Ellinger will be able to do. This offensive line is not doing him any favors either. So
No.
Ellinger has a chance to be able to do something. As a Colts fan, I just hope he's either really good or really bad and nowhere in between, because I either want to like at least see some hope or just give us a top five pick and let's go on with our lives.
In terms of fantasy, what do you think? Wide receivers like Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell. I know Paris Campbell was a big ad last week. How
Yeah,
do you
he's
think?
been doing solid.
So how do
Uh,
you think those wide receivers, so everyone except for Michael Pittman, will do with Sam Ellinger?
yeah, for me, I am sitting them this week just to see like how he does, what they're going to kind of use him like, and like kind of situations. Like the only Colts I would really want to play would be JT and Pittman.
Mm-hmm. I agree
Um,
with that.
the others, like I just there's so many question marks, so many variables. We don't really know what's going to happen with Sam Ellinger out there. So I'd much rather wait and see than try to throw him out there and potentially be very disappointed with like a goose egg or something.
Yeah, if you stacked your team with Chiefs players or Chargers players and like they're all out, or like maybe you're suffering a couple wide receiver injuries and you kind of have to play Alec Pierce, I wouldn't hate it. I think Ellinger might find him deep for a play. There's a good chance at that. But just to like, if you're debating between two people at the flex position, those two people are like Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell are sits for the week.
Would you play either of those two over like Marquise Goodwin?
Who we're gonna touch up on that soon, but
Mm-hmm.
I like Goodwin more.
Yeah, I
I
guess
feel like with
I'd go
Geno
there too.
Smith, because we know the consistency of Geno Smith and how he's been playing in the NFL. Like Ellinger has not thrown an official NFL pass yet. So I'd go Goodwin, like him deep. Uh yeah, I'll go Goodwin.
Yeah, I'd probably go the same. And talking about wide receivers, Mike Williams has a high ankle sprain. He will miss at least 4 weeks. So likely he'll be put on IR, which is very unfortunate because, which I mean, I know he was having just a roller coaster of a year like he does every single year, but yeah, the Chargers kind of need him.
All right. Think about it like this, Mike Williams owners. Mike Williams just put up 1.2 points for 4 consecutive weeks, but thankfully you sat him on the bench for those 4 consecutive weeks. Think about it like that. Just think about it like that. All right. That's hopefully that lets you cope a bit, but that's the mentality I'm going with.
That is the mentality. That's how you should be taking it.
Yes.
Yes. Mike Boone has been placed on the injured reserve. Broncos have signed Marlon Mack off the 49ers practice squad. So interesting signing. I don't think that really does a whole lot, but I think it's still going to be Latavius Murray and Melvin Gordon as the
I think
guys.
Marlon Mack's another. I know it used to be Cole Kmet, but I think Marlon Max is getting up there for our fantasy
Most
fantasy
mentioned.
table mascot.
Yeah.
He gets mentioned every week getting picked up by a team,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
mean
He's been on what, like 4 teams this season?
I couldn't even name them. I know Texans and Broncos
Texans,
now.
49ers,
Oh,
Broncos.
49ers too, I guess. So
He has a chance to get in a ring, I guess, with the 49ers. I don't know if practice squad counts or not, but
hopefully Marlon Mack getting a ring before the rest of the Colts franchise. That'll be interesting to see.
that'd be funny. I know they already mentioned, but Debo's day to day with a hamstring injury. Um, James Robinson, another trade that happened. James Robinson got traded to the Jets after the Brees Hall injury. Um, I know I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit, but once again, more competition for Michael Carter. I don't know if they're going to slide him exactly into the Brees Hall role, but he's going to get more touches than what he did last week in Jacksonville, which was a solid zero. Um, so yeah, but also I know me and Theo are big fans, but Travis Etienne season now in Jacksonville, so I'm very happy to see that.
Yep, finally gets a full slate. You saw it last week. Did really well with it. I mean, that's just more to come, I guess. There's gonna be weeks though where that Jaguars offense looks dead and he doesn't do well. So I'm not too high on ETN being an RB1 quality running back for the rest of the year. And if he is, it's gonna be a very low end, like bridge RB1. But that Jaguars offense is not consistent enough to be full steam ahead on ETN RB1. So if you're thinking about trading and building your team as you're comfortable around ETN as your starting back, I wouldn't, because I feel like you're going to need that other running back spot if your league has another running back spot to kind of buffer that if the Jags have a bad offense week.
Yeah, to me, like ETN would be a high end running back two, low end running back one, rest of season. But also, like, if you're saying like a hero running back build or a like very wide receiver heavy or something like that, I wouldn't be upset with having him as my running back one. But yeah. Bailey Zappi came in for Mac Jones and kind of outplayed him Monday Night Football. Mac Jones is still expected to start this week, though. I don't know if it was just Mac coming off the injury or what really happened, but Mac didn't look too great.
I saw a stat on Twitter, forgot to tweet it out, but they posted the percentages of how many of their QB snaps were taken under center and a play action. And I think Mac Jones is like last season, he had about like over like around 24% or something of his plays being play action. And last week he had like 8% under center and 10% play action, while Bailey Zappi, he had 20% under center and like 22% play action. So I think like the quality of plays and setting up and like kind of forcing the Bears to think that it's going to be a run to Stevenson, I think Zappi had a little bit more of an advantage there, and hence why he may have played better. So, but that's also like I can't credit Mac for how he played well. Like he didn't play well. Like even when he wasn't given the opportunity of a defense preparing for a run, you're still an NFL quarterback, you're a first round pick. You should be able to make those plays, even if the situation doesn't present itself. He didn't. It's going to be interesting. A lot of Patriots fans want there to be a QB controversy, but Bill Belichick, he says Mac Jones is the guy, but he fails to. I feel like Bill Belichick's failing to say like Mac Jones is the starter, right? I mean, like he should be starting. A lot of news outlets are saying he's going to start, but with Bill Belichick, who knows? Like it could be the second quarter and Zappy comes in and plays for the rest of the game. But
I
as of right
guess
now, yeah, you could go.
no. I was just going to say like I mean Bill Belichick like you probably weren't starting Mac Jones anyway, but it's just like yeah, he's just kind of off my radar. But moving on, there's also some rumors going around. This just started kind of today, so I don't know how true these all are, but Zeke is potentially going to be out this week with a knee injury. So keep closely monitored on that. If so, Tony Pollard would be a great start this weekend. So yeah, keep an eye out.
Yep, I saw Marcus Spears, one of the NFL personalities, him saying that the Cowboys should send a fourth round pick for Kareem Hunt because they don't know like how bad this Zeke injury is going to last and if it's going to be kind of persisting throughout the season. But I mean, I would shake things up too, adding Hunt.
That'd
If
be
Zeke is somewhat healthy and Pollard in that offense,
I wouldn't like
it,
that.
yeah, for fantasy, that's a nightmare.
That's a nightmare. Yeah, but I mean, speaking of Kareem Hunt, like with CMC being traded, now might not be a bad time to like add Dearness Johnson. Um,
Mm.
I mean, if you have an open roster spot, obviously, if like Donta Foreman or Chuba Hubbard's out there, I'd rather have them over over um oh gosh dang it. I just said it, why can't I remember his name?
Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, no,
Wait,
I'm the Browns running
Kareem
back.
Hunt? Oh, Johnson.
Dearness Johnson. Yeah,
Dearness
Dearness
Johnson,
Johnson.
yes.
Yeah, I'd much rather have the Panthers running backs over Dearness Johnson right now because obviously Dearness Johnson isn't doing anything. But it's just in case Kareem Hunt gets traded, which I mean, it seems like 50-50 whether he does or he doesn't. I mean, that's kind of obvious. He either does or he doesn't, but really don't know if the Browns are going to want to commit and hope that they make a push this year. They would probably want Kareem Hunt on their team, or if they're just going to like sell their losses, try to get something for him instead of nothing later on in the offseason.
Either way, though, it's Tony Pollard season.
Tony
A couple weeks early, but we have arrived to Tony Pollard season.
I mean, I'm hoping so because he just has so much more juice than what Zeke does at this point in their careers. I just want to see him unleashed.
I think you will this week. That's my predict. I think Tony Pollard, if Zeke is out,
If Zeke is
Tony
out,
Pollard
yes.
is okay. He is officially out.
No, I'm saying if he was out, then yes, he would be unleashed.
My bold take this week is Tony Pollard drops more than 25 points.
Ooh, that is spicy.
If Zeke is out, of course. If Zeke's in, I
If
mean,
Zeke's playing, then we're holding you to it yet.
yes.
We're holding you to
All right.
it. He's scoring 25 no matter what. Our funny moment of the week. I feel like this guy is just like another one of those guys that we talk about almost week in, week out. Russell Wilson on their flight to London decided to do high knees for like 4 of the 8 hours to rehab and just work out. While the rest of the team is sleeping, by the way. So if I was sleeping and I wake up and I just see Russ right in the aisleway next to me doing high knees, I don't know what I would do. That I'd almost feel like I'd just laugh right there, and like I don't really care at that point.
And just kind of give yourself a chuckle, put back your headphones, and just drift off to sleep. And you're not just hearing like the
Yeah,
going up and down the aisle.
Yeah, gotta hope that those guys had like headphones or something to like plug their ears. Because goodness,
Such an odd character, but not
he's
doing well in fantasy, so we can make fun of him.
we can make fun of him right now. Yes. Bye weeks this week are the Chiefs and Chargers. It's weird because it's like we had like 4 teams last week, 2 teams this week, and then there's like 6 teams next week. Either way, once again, a pretty big fantasy cast that are going to be off your lineups this week with Mahomes, Kelsey, the group of running backs and wide receivers on the Chiefs, if you have any of them. And then obviously Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who's hurt anyway, Gerald Everett, those guys.
Number 1 tight end and number 1 running back on the season are out for this week.
Both off. Tough. And then something that I just wanted to mention real quick. This is kind of like my own little segment here, but I just want to talk about Dynasty real quick because I love Dynasty. It's probably my favorite type of fantasy football, really. But Dameon Pierce, I looked at his keep trade cut ranking this past week. He is currently running back 10 in Dynasty value, which to me is outrageous. He is being valued more than Javonte Williams, which is just like wow.
I can, because I know how keep trade and cut works. And like
I guess it's a lot of reaction.
Yeah. So I could definitely see it, but still, like, come on.
Like I'm going to check who else he's ahead of, but I do know he was like the 35th overall Dynasty asset, which to me just no matter what like happens, I feel like he's overvalued. So if you can like trade him for anything, I'd be happy. Like good value wise. Like I would definitely take a first round pick, like an upcoming first round pick for him, 2023. Okay, so yeah, some of the running backs that he is also ahead of is Joe Mixon, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris. I yeah, I just feel
I
like
mean, like the Najee Harris one, honestly, that's close. But like, how close?
I don't. Yeah, I gotta
I'd
say
still,
Najee's dynasty value has been tanked, but
yeah, he's the worst running back this year. I mean, like in terms
yeah,
of yards per carry, it just makes sense to kind of push him down. But man, Damian Pierce being a top 10 dynasty running back, I'm not with it either. I'm not. I know we kind of have our previous biases on kind of being down on him before the season.
yeah,
He's proved us wrong. He's been great. Borderline RB1. But in terms of long term, I mean, you got the list of players right here you can read off. You don't see long term value out of a player like this.
yeah. So I was kind of like looking into it and stuff, but especially after what's kind of transpired over the past week. But to me, like Damian Pierce, I am trying to sell high right now, unless I'm like a contending roster that is wanting to win this week, or like not this week, this year. Like if I want to win this year, Damian Pierce, I'm fine with keeping him. But if I'm trying to rebuild or anything, I'm trying to sell him. Just like looking in these past few years at like mid round to late round running backs that have been drafted and have produced well, we got Elijah Mitchell, just got replaced by Christian McCaffrey. We got James Robinson, who drafted Travis Etienne the next year, even though James Robinson did a crazy thing as an undrafted free agent, came in and was like a top 5 fantasy running back in his rookie season. Michael Carter got replaced twice within a year.
By
First
James
Brees,
Robinson.
yeah, first Brees Hall, and now James Robinson. Marlon Mack, he had a 1,000 yard season and then promptly gets replaced by Jonathan Taylor. Um, Teams have shown that even though these players have done well, they are not holding on to them. They're not like committing to them. They're totally fine if there's a better player out there that they will just grab them. Like I know running backs are kind of devalued. Like Brees Hall was such a good prospect coming out of college, and he went at the top of the second round. What's to say that Bijan Robinson doesn't fall to like the beginning of the second round and Texans grab him? I feel like
It's
that's
true.
definitely a possibility. It would make
And
sense to me, but yeah. Why don't you go ahead, Theo?
like you said earlier about selling Damian Pierce, I brought up selling him to a contender, and you said a contender that had Brees Hall. And I mean,
Yeah,
there's definitely a team out there who got Brees Hall late and have done amazing with him starting and got those wins, right? They racked up those wins. They have a great record, uh, dynasty wise, and they're looking for that cash pool first place. There's that rebuilding team, and if you're that rebuilding team with Damian Pierce, send them to a team that is suffering a running back injury or that just needs one running back to push them over the edge. Because I promise you, whatever that future pick that you get from Damian Pierce, whether it's like Bijan Robinson or Mo
Jamar Gibbs.
Ibrahim that comes out of the draft, there's so many good running backs that I could. There's like 5 of them next year that could easily go in the first 2 rounds. I mean, if they're going to go in the first round, probably not. But there's so many quality, top heavy running backs in next year's draft that all you have to do is just send Pierce for a first round pick. You can convince them to say, like, hey, look, if you want that cash pool prize, here's the guy to push you over. And he is. We're not saying he's not right now. This season, he is that guy that could win championships if you send him away to a contender. But Is he going to be that guy in 2 years from now? It's impossible to tell, and history tells us that he's most likely not going to be that guy. So get that first round pick, try your luck with a top running back in this next coming draft, and you'll be blessed. Surely you'll be blessed.
Yeah, I gotta say, my main reason that I wanted to bring this up is not to say that Damian Pierce will be replaced. He could easily,
Mhm.
his whole rookie contract, be the starting running back. But just off of history, if you are like one of those rebuilding teams and not a contender, like time after time, history has shown us that teams are more likely to replace those kind of running backs than not. I mean, obviously, there's different circumstances. Like I know Aaron Jones was one of those guys. Like he was a mid-round running back that ended up getting the starting role and holding on to it. You got those kind of guys that happen every once in a while, but it's not all. It's not the normal. But if you sell high enough, like if you get a first-round pick, who cares if Damian Pierce does well, like throughout his rookie contract? Who cares if he stays a starter? You still got a first round pick for him, and that's all you really need. Like to me, I just feel like
And
it's safer for you in the long term if you sell him than if you hold on.
I agree. Couldn't say it any better.
Well, thank you. Before we move on to our next segment, let me tell you a little bit more about our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy platform where it's just you versus the projections. You can pick more or less on many player projections, such as receiving yards, rushing yards, receptions, and many more on any player on any sport that you watch. All you have to do is pick between 2 to 5 players, and you can win up to 10 times your entry. So download Prize Picks today and play daily fantasy sports with us. Make sure to use promo code BLUESTABLE when you sign up. If you use our code BLUESTABLE, you will get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $10, you will get $10, making it $20. If you deposit $50, you'll get an additional $50 from them, which will make it $100. If you download 100, you'll get $100, making it $200 total. So go ahead, download Prize Picks today and use code BLUESTABLE to get that deposit match. Then moving on to our actual segment is going to be our situations. Here we're going to be talking about like running back and wide receiver rooms that are kind of cloudy. You don't really know what's going on, what's going to happen, what's the future going to be like. And we're just here to kind of like discuss it, but also try to give like our takes on them. And first off, we're going to start with the Panthers running back room. I know this is one of the hot topics of the week. I know a lot of people are discussing on who they should pick up between Foreman or Hubbard because both had good weeks, but which one should he choose to get? And so this past week, Hubbard was named the starter, and he played like a starter. Even though you look at the end, like box results, and Foreman had more rushes, more rushing yards, more fantasy points, everything like that, even though Hubbard had a touchdown. If you look at it from a certain angle, it was more of like a 60-40, 70-30 split to Hubbard before Hubbard got hurt. And Hubbard also started off getting like 9 of the 10 first running back to like snaps of the game. So to me, Hubbard is probably their guy moving forward, but Hubbard also had an injury. So both of them are rosterable. Obviously, they're not going to give the whole Christian McCaffrey load to one person, but I feel like if there is one guy to kind of focus on more moving forward, it'd be Hubbard.
Yeah, I agree. At first I disagreed, but you kind of brought up those stats and it swayed me to believe that Hubbard's the more long-term solution. But the big but is of course the injury that you named.
Big bet.
Short term, I love Deontay Foreman. And if
To
you
me,
look
he's a
at
better
his
running back.
yeah, if you look at his history, whenever he has the chance to be the number one guy, he has proved that he is a quality back and he has put up multiple 100-yard games as the RB1, as the sole RB1 in offense. Is that to say that he's going to do it with the Panthers next week if Hubbard's out? No, because he did it with the Titans, I believe was his last team, and the Titans were are a better overall offense and team than the Panthers. So I wouldn't bet on Deontay Foreman putting up 100 yards total 100 yards, but there's a chance though. I mean, he's done very well, and when I'm saying like the chance of him not doing it, I'm not saying to sit him because of it. I think that if you are desperate this week for a flex, or if you're just debating two people, I think Foreman's a guy that you could realistically start on your flex.
Hubbard did not practice on Wednesday, so just FYI, that is
I
pretty
that
big
is
tell.
honestly, if he doesn't practice, or even if Hubbard's limited on Thursday, I'm green lighting Foreman on a flex because that injury could flare up on Sunday.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I know the Panthers said that they were kind of going to do like the hot hand approach. Foreman's pretty hot. I mean,
Yeah.
he he did pretty well with his limited opportunities. But the next backfield we're going to talk about is the Baltimore Ravens. Gus Bus came back. I know he only played like 30% of snaps, 36, I think was the exact number, 36%, just a little over a third, and got like 16 carries, 2 touchdowns. Kenyon Drake had like 11 carries for like nothing. I forget what his exact yardage was and stuff, but it was not good. And then Justice Hill kind of filled in every once in a while as well. Didn't play too bad. To me, this is Gus's backfield moving forward until potentially Dobbins returns. Even if so, I feel like they might do kind of like a hot hand and just like Gus ride for the rest of the season. But who knows, really?
I'm kind of upset because I mean those rushing touchdowns, man, with Lamar Jackson, he needs those. And Gus is so good at punching it in. So I can't blame the Ravens for going to him in that situation. But it Gus is going to be that running back. And even if Dobbins comes back off IR, I don't think he returns to what we saw glimpses of when he came back before he was placed on IR. I think honestly, if I'm the Ravens, I'm sitting him for the rest of the season. I'm saying, look, man, you're one of our decorated running backs. We expect high things from you, right? This is not going to be your season. We can't have this injury worsened as much as it is right now. I think J.K. Dobbins is, I mean, you could adjust your viewpoint on it to see if he does come off IR and if he plays a good game, you can keep him. But if he comes off IR and has like 3 carries, I think you're more likely to roster another player. And if there's another major running back injury that happens while J.K. Dobbins is on IR, I'm willing to take the risk on dropping J.K. Dobbins for that next upcoming player. I don't think J.K. Dobbins is going to do much in this Ravens backfield anymore.
Yeah, this year I don't foresee Dobbins doing a whole lot of good. Um, Obviously, down the stretch, maybe potentially, but I think it's more likely than not that it would be better off without him. Next up is the Jets backfield. Obviously, we don't know as much because James Robinson just got traded there, but Michael Carter is the guy that's been there for a while. He kind of knows the system more. So it's potential that he will be the starter and James Robinson will kind of be his 1B to Michael Carter's 1A. But for now, to be quite honest, I don't know which one I would prefer to roster because I haven't I have been known to not really like Michael Carter for like the beginning of his career here. I said not to draft him in dynasty rookie drafts. I've kind of been out on him this year. It's I still like I do think that he might be the starter, but I still don't know if I want him on my team.
And one other aspect I think is worthy of noting, their guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, put on IR as well. So same time as Brees Hall. He was a key factor in opening up a lot of those holes that Brees Hall was able to break through and get to
Tucker
the
is
second
good.
level.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Brees Hall himself, once he gets to that second level, he's gone. Right? I mean, he could do stuff unlike like running backs that have been in this league for multiple years. They can't even do, and they can't even think about doing. Like those holes with Vera Tucker out. I mean, will they? I don't think they're going to open up as much as they were for Hall, and that's not really a good case for James Robinson. Um, right now, if I had to pick, I'm picking Michael Carter because of his floor in receiving. That's
Yeah,
only
I agree.
reason. Only reason why.
It's a good
I
point.
think James Robinson is a way better runner, but just because of the fact that that Jets offensive line took a big hit losing Vera Tucker, I can't trust James Robinson too much. It's just that backfield is after Hall left, it's not even I think it's just gonna dwindle down to like irrelevancy,
I
to be
gotta say,
honest.
would you rather have one of the Panthers running backs or one of the Jets running backs?
Panthers. I would rather have one of the Panthers running backs by a
It's
mile.
I gotta say it's crazy to
It's not
say, but
close.
yeah, it's crazy to say, but I almost feel like I'd rather take the shot at one of the Panthers running backs. Which I don't know if that's just bias of them having a really good game this past week, or if it's just kind of the disappointment of like the Jets players, but either way, it just seems like it's going to be a muddy situation.
And I mean, they went to Brees Hall a lot in the receiving game too.
Yeah,
So Michael Carter can definitely pick up on some of that. But I don't think they're going to go to Michael Carter at that same volume as they did Brees Hall.
they
I mean, they
obviously don't trust him.
no, they obviously don't. They obviously want a two running back system that can remain consistent and kind of like moving the ball. Jets are a good team. They're a good team, but that
Yeah.
backfield after Hall left, it sort of devalues their offense a bit. And I feel like they're going to start going to their wide receivers a little bit more. They're going to start forcing it to their wide receivers more rather than relying on Brees Hall to make some miracle play happen and him breaking off like a 50-yard touchdown.
Right, right. Also, speaking of muddy backfields, the Broncos running back room. Good gosh, is that a mess? Not only is the Broncos offense just not great, but man, Melvin Gordon was the starter. I know I put this on Twitter. Melvin Gordon was the starter at the time of Mike Boone's injury. He was the leading rusher, and Latavius Murray had the touchdown. Um, it is just a mess. I like to me, I just want to stay away from this backfield if I can. I yeah, Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray will still probably get some decent performances towards the end of the season, but I just feel like it's going to be more headache than anything else with them guys.
See, you're struggling to find words on how to describe this backfield, and I
Yes.
am right there with you. Like, honestly, I do not want anything to do with this backfield. I don't have much to say about it because there is not much to say about it, right? Melvin Gordon, fumble troubles, Latavius Murray. Why is he here? He's a Bronco now. Marlon Mack. Yeah, I guess we could just move to the next one because Broncos, the backfield, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Just kind of stay away if you can. Like if it's
Yes,
possible, like just stay
run.
away. To be quite honest, if you have Melvin Gordon, drop him to let him be someone else's problem. Like honestly, that
Or
I kind of want to do that.
I mean, or just like say like, hey, there's this bench player that you're not doing anything with. Like he's just chilling on your like you've never started him in a single game. Can I have him? And you go, sure. And then now you just have Corey Davis chilling on your bench instead of Melvin Gordon. It's more aesthetically pleasing, right?
Yeah, that is true as well. Um, Chiefs running back room. Now this one's an interesting one. I know we said earlier that Pacheco got like 30% of snaps, but also it was a kind of a blowout, Chiefs versus San Fran. So I can't really. I think the game script kind of what led to that as well, but it also just seemed like a pretty big committee. Pacheco did get the start, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire got the touchdown. Um, to me, I think that it's just going to slowly build more Pacheco's way. I feel like they're just trying to like give him a few snaps his first week starting, then potentially grow on that as the weeks go along. Just see how he does. If he does well, then I can see him just keep growing and growing and growing. Otherwise, they might go back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire and McKinnon.
I have a hot take. I think this backfield got worse.
Oh,
I mean, of course, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a lot of people said they're down on him, ready to sell, right?
sell
But he was
high.
still,
Everybody was
but
saying sell high.
yeah, like sell high, like he was scoring multiple touchdowns, but like had no volume of production, right?
Yeah.
But Pacheco starting, I know blowout, situational, but that's what hot takes are for. I think the more they start Pacheco, the more this backfield gets iffy. I think they have these three running backs that are like, all right, you have now that we're starting Pacheco more, they're all these three running backs are basically like at the equivalent of talent in their career. Like Pacheco is early on, right? Like late draft pick out of Rutgers. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, high draft pick, but is
Oh,
slowly deteriorating. Jerick McKinnon
I don't
is
think he had anything to
there.
really deteriorate though.
Yeah, I guess. Jerick McKinnon, he led the team in carries, I think, for some reason, and is a pass catching back. It's like it's now like leveled out, whereas before you saw Alaire, like Edwards-Helaire, have some sort of role in there, right? I mean, like it wasn't as he wasn't productive in it,
No,
but he
Pacheco.
had
Real quick, Pacheco did lead the team in rushes.
okay, so it was McKinnon snaps that
Yeah, he led in
okay,
snaps.
that's where I messed up, but Clyde was like he had that some role in there where it's like he wasn't doing well in it, but like you knew what it was,
Yeah,
and he was getting points off of it, even though it was like luck touchdown situational play calling. Now it's just it's plateaued, and it's this again. This is why we've added it into like the muddied, fogged up backfield, and from now on, I don't think it's gonna be as good. That's my hot take.
yeah. I gotta say, I wouldn't really start any of them until you see a more clear defined role. I know we said to like sell CEH mainly for the like abundance of touchdowns on limited touches, but to be quite honest, like I was thinking about it, and it's like, I mean, it's not all that lucky if they're scheming him up to get touchdowns like week
Yes,
after week. Like they,
hindsight is
yeah, they use him a lot in the red zone. I mean, he seems to be like the red zone back. So it's like, well, yes, he is getting a high like touchdown percentage. At the same time, it can continue just because the Chiefs' offense is really good and they are using Clyde Edwards-Helaire that way. So I don't know. And like you said, I mean, I kind of agree with you now that you're saying this because it's like Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't getting those other touches to get like more yards and more like receiving yards. He's just kind of getting that limited work. So his yardage is going to go down, but his touchdown like upside is still kind of staying there. While the other
and
running backs get the yards and not the touchdowns.
yep, and if even if Pacheco somehow gets more red zone carries, that ruins Edwards-Helaire's chances of getting touchdown.
Yeah.
But
But that also
I
helps Pacheco out.
yeah, it's so weird. And hindsight, looking at it, we told you to sell high on Edwards-Helaire for the production per carry, which still stands. I'm not gonna backtrack on that point,
Mhm.
but in hindsight, I kind of like skipped over a moral of mine in judging fantasy players is that you can't discredit a player for scoring a
Okay.
touchdown.
Yeah.
They scored the like a lot of fantasy experts go like, well, that's not sustainable. right? Or like, well, like the touchdown, dependent touchdown is not sustainable. Okay, but they did it.
Yeah.
And they did it for a while. And Edwards-Helaire was going to do it for a while until Andy Reid stepped in and was like, hey, we're going to give this kid from Rutgers a little bit more carries in the offense. So it's hard to like, hindsight, I kind of wish I didn't say so high on Edwards-Helaire, but I can't backtrack on it, right? I said it,
I mean, you could
but
potentially buy low now, though, with
you could.
Pacheco being the starter.
But honestly, I wouldn't buy into this Chiefs
No,
backfield.
I gotta say I wouldn't either. But yeah, I gotta say, speaking on like that point though, like earlier, I was going to originally like talk about like Foreman, how a lot of his production came off of a few big runs, and I was like, you can't necessarily count on that moving forward. Which I mean, obviously you can't. But the thing is that he did those. Like,
You're following my philosophy.
yeah, I
Yes,
gotta
I
say,
converted someone to
yeah,
it.
I
Like you
had
can't
such a like
credit.
difficult like time. Like, I was just kind of like fighting it. I was just like, I do want to like say that because I mean it is true. Like, you can't count on a 50-yard run week after week for your fantasy team. But the thing is that he did do it this past week, and he can do it moving forward. It's not like it's impossible. So
Yeah,
yes,
look,
that's how fantasy football works. So it's just a lot of luck and chance.
I love stats, right? I love
Yeah,
averages. I love those yards per carry. Um, and one difference is like Leonard Fournette, like he's on an offense that's historically now one of the worst rushing offenses in the NFL.
yeah,
And he is a player I feel like you can look at those yards per carries and like the touchdowns and kind of make that assessment. Like, okay, yes, Leonard Fournette is touchdown dependent. Those yards per carry is not sustainable for week to week production. But with Edwards-Helaire, he was doing those touchdowns week after week after week. And at that point, before Andy Reid again stepped in and said, Pacheco, it's your role now, like that was sustainable, right? His red zone usage was sustainable. And I feel like a lot of people skip over that fact and just look at the single touchdown rather than where in the position on the field he got that touchdown.
right.
And I feel like moving forward, I'm definitely gonna improve myself in researching that
Hmm.
and getting that to you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Anyway, to quit our rambling and move on, our next backfield is actually from the same game, the San Francisco 49ers. I know we kind of touched on this earlier with the McCaffrey trade news. McCaffrey played around like 30% of snaps, got quite a few touches. He got 10 total. So they still put him in a lot of packages, just like straight off the bat within like 10 days or 2 days of actually having McCaffrey. Um, but to me, this is McCaffrey moving forward. I hope you sold high on Jeff Wilson and or Elijah Mitchell, because yeah, I think they're kind of done.
McCaffrey is here. That offense, I think I said in this episode, my God, we're kind of running out of time. We're going a little longer than I would have thought, but I don't have to go right now, so we're good. But uh, I think I said in this episode, Debo and McCaffrey, it's just
Yeah,
gonna be those two. Yeah. Um, kind of we talked about that a little bit more than we should have in the news, but
yeah, yeah.
anyways, you
Keep it
heard
sweet
it.
anyway.
Yeah, McCaffrey's gonna be that guy.
Yeah, McCaffrey even on 30% of snaps led the team in carries. So yeah, it's him.
And look
Uh,
cool in that 23 jersey, I
he
would
did.
say.
Yes. And then also real quick, we touched on this already. Jaguars running backs. It's ETN season. The only other guys that could potentially eat into his workload are JaMychal Hasty and Snoop Connor.
Yeah.
So
I
we'll
got
see if
him
they
like
get any
last
sooner.
round pick in my dynasty league.
Yep.
He's just sitting on my taxi squad, and like every week you just see like Snoop Connor out. Oh, Snoop Connor healthy. Oh, but he's not playing. It's just back and forth. But yeah, ETN all the way. That offense is, I think that I think it's gonna run through ETN a lot of it about it. But yeah, I guess ETN season. Not to say too much propaganda about it, but yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of went a little longer than what we thought. We kind of rambled for a little bit there. Uh, but yeah, so that is our mainly our talk on those situations that we wanted to talk about because that had a lot of injury news, trade news, and stuff like that going on. Um, but yeah, big news week. That's why we kind of didn't do our own like other segment as well, which I mean, I guess we kind of did with the situations, but it is what it is. But anyway, until next time, guys, make sure to go like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Follow us on Twitter. We'll respond to your messages if you have start sit decisions, anything like that. Just let us know. But yeah, that's all for us today. Thanks and goodbye.
Thank you.